struggling today. Whoops. Melanin molecules. Kind of a tongue twister. It does smell a little weird. It smells like hot hair. Hey, I'm Jenny, Mashable's tech reporter, and this is Beauty Hacked, where we're digging into the science and tech that makes beauty innovation exciting. Today, we're trying out the T3 Curl ID, a smart curling iron that does your hair with personalized heat settings. It uses T3's Heat ID technology, which customizes heat based on your unique hair profile. So let's open it up and see what's inside while I tell you a little bit more about it. So let's see. It looks very pretty. I love the color scheme. Sometimes these boxes are slow. Haha. Haha. Ooh, it looks very nice. I'm very impressed. So the T3 brand actually has a bunch of different styling tools, which includes hair dryers and flat irons and other types of curling irons like a wand, and they all rely on similar heat-related tech innovations. On this guy, the Curl ID, there are 9 different heat settings that'll automatically adjust depending on your hair texture, the color, and the chemical treatments. So we've talked about the fact that hair is made up of keratin and how heat products will damage and often break down the hydrogen bonds in your hair in past episodes of Beauty Hacked. And I think we all understand at this point that you should probably avoid excessive heat if you want to keep your hair healthy. One of the most useful things about the Curl ID in particular, at least for someone like me who dyes my hair pretty regularly, is its specific emphasis on protecting color-treated hair. When it comes to hair lightening and bleaching, you have a whole other set of factors that can cause hair damage. Like your skin and eyes, your hair does get its color from melanin, and your specific hair tone is thanks to the size and shape formed by melanin molecules as they collect in your hair shaft. Unlike the temporary hair dyes you might have done at summer camp, permanent hair coloring opens up the hair shaft in order to break down natural pigment, and then individual dye molecules have to get linked together in order to form the reaction that emits color. That's why you have to sit and wait at the salon, oftentimes for ages. My hair takes several hours, so I know the pain. When it comes to lightening your hair and bleach specifically, as bleach goes into your hair shaft and reacts with the pigment molecules in there, it's simultaneously breaking down the natural fatty acids on the shaft. This weakens the strand, leading to permanent damage, and unfortunately, it only gets worse the more you bleach. So the lighter you go, the blonder you go, it's gonna get worse for your hair. And you really can't get back to pre-bleach health. So with all of this in mind, the Curl ID sounds like a dream come true for anyone who has lightened their hair in the past and wants to curl it and still use heat while cutting back on potential major heat damage. But like so many of the beauty tech products we try out here, it doesn't come cheap. Right now, this guy retails for $249. Personally, I use my old crusty dusty curling iron from 7th grade anytime I want curls, and it usually does the trick, but this is Beauty Hacked, and as always, we want to see how the coolest and latest tech compares. So let's get into it, let's see how this guy does, and of course, let's compare it to my trusty curling iron from 7th grade. Let's do it. All right, so I just plugged in the T3 Curl ID, and it warmed up really fast. I actually didn't think it was going to warm up already because I thought I had to turn it on, but I guess when I plugged it in, I turned it on. There are no buttons on it. It's all this like lit up display. So the power button is down here, and then all of these other buttons, this top part right here is the heat level, and then these different sections are all elements of the heat ID that I'm gonna put in that's specific to my hair type. So it is your hair texture, whether your hair has been colored before, and whether it's been chemically treated. So I'm not sure how to work this, if I'm being honest, because there's something to do with locking and unlocking. I did watch a few tutorials. T3 does have pretty good tutorials on their website, so I definitely would recommend watching that for like the perfect breakdown, but you could just watch me struggle to figure it out too. So we're gonna try that right now. I believe you have to press the, haha. So that clicky sound, I hope you heard it. either locked or unlocked it. So I'm gonna try and press this. Okay, yeah, so that unlocked it. So this top part is hair texture. I have pretty medium hair texture, so it's fine, medium, coarse. Mine's pretty medium. I have a lot of hair, but it's not super coarse, but it's not super thin either. So I'm gonna put it on medium. The next one is, ooh, okay, it's already moving. Whether it's color treated or not. So if you've ever bleached your hair, if you've ever colored it of any sort, you should have this on. You can turn it off if you never have had it. Did I lock it again? Okay, I don't know why it locked itself. So if it's turned off, then the color treatment is not on. But if it's on, then that means you have used coloring agents in your hair before. So I'm gonna have that on. And then this last one is whether it's been chemically treated. So when it's on, it'll look like that. I actually have not really chemically treated my hair because I believe T3 defines it as whether you've chemically curled or straightened, anything like that. I believe if you've ever done like a keratin treatment, that would also apply. Technically, I actually did chemically straighten my hair a long time ago. It was in high school. So I don't think it'll apply, so I'm not gonna keep it on. It's off here. And I think if you heard it while I was talking, it made some sounds. So I think if you leave it for long enough, it actually locks itself. But once you're done, you double tap the power button to lock in your settings. And then this heat level will auto adjust depending on your heat ID. So it looks like mine's at 4 dots right now, which seems pretty high because I think it only goes up to 5 or 6. But if you do want to manually adjust any of this, there is a manual mode as well. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to manually adjust it. I want to see what its suggested heat feels like for me. So our heat ID is all ready to go, and I guess I'm going to try it. Full disclaimer, I have not used a curling iron with a clamp in many years. So if that part goes badly, that's my fault. I admit it right now, but we're gonna try anyways, I guess. I also really like, side note, that it has this little bar right here because it lets you, is it hot? No, it's not. I really risk my fingers sometimes by just seeing if things are hot, but this bar doesn't get hot, so it's nice when I set it on the table and the hot part doesn't really touch, which I appreciate because my old curling iron, I'm always trying to figure out how to not get it to touch the table, and I'm never successful. So while it heats up, I think it's already hot, but whatever. I'm gonna put some heat protectant in my hair because it is color treated and we don't want it to get damaged. Even though that this is supposed to be better for heat damage than normal, we're gonna take all the necessary precautions. This heat protectant is a little bit wet, so I do have to wait for it to like dry a little bit. So we're gonna do this side with the T3 curling iron, and then eventually we'll get to this side with my trusty old curling iron from 7th grade, who, I know, I've been talking about it so often. When will she make her debut? Just wait, she'll come. So let's see what this guy can do. It is at 4 still. It looks like my heat ID is locked in. It's pretty hot. I can feel the heat from this far away. Probably even this far away. It's obviously hotter as I get closer to it. So I don't know, it doesn't feel like significantly less hot than my normal curling iron, but let's see. Oh my god, I truly don't remember how to use a curling iron with a clamp, but we're gonna try. Wait, how do you do this? Oh my god, what? Ooh, did you just see that steam come up? I don't know if you can see that. Hold it for a little bit. I wonder how long I'm supposed to actually hold curling irons for. I kind of just do it based on the vibes. It's so quiet. I feel like I'm frying my hair. Okay, I'm trying to get the ends a little bit. Truly, I have not done this in a long time. So if this first curl looks bad, whoops. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Oh! Okay, that looks way better than I expected it to. Mostly because of my own skill level, but look at that. The other feature that I didn't mention earlier is that this also emits ions, which is supposed to reduce frizz and smooth your hair a little bit. So it's an ionic curling iron. A lot of curling and straightening irons are made of ceramic, surfaces, so that's a little bit different. The ions are supposed to do something. And I mean, it looks pretty smooth to me. That's very nice. And it's obviously very different from my natural hair texture. I have some wave to my hair, but it doesn't look like that. All right, let's try another eye. That's hopefully a little bit less wet. I miss my curling wand. I feel like I'm kind of just using it like a curling wand anyways, but you know. That one didn't steam as much. Ooh, there we go. Oh, that one also definitely feels less crispy. Yeah, so I think it was the heat protectant, not so much the curling iron. That one feels a lot smoother. Yeah, the experience of using this guy is really not all that different from a regular curling iron. All of the different element is in this heat ID, but I didn't notice how different the heat felt. It's still a hot curling iron, but my hair is pretty soft after doing it, so I'm curious to see how my hair will physically feel using the other side. Oh, I guess I should do this front piece too. Okay, so just finished this side with the T3 Curl ID curling iron, and this is what it looks like. It was pretty easy to use. Took me a second to figure out the clamp, but that was my own personal problem. And the experience of using it was really like any other curling iron other than inputting all of my personal details at the beginning. But once I started using it, I didn't really remember that I was using a smart curling iron, you know? It was just kind of a curling iron that gave me pretty nice looking curls, if I do say so myself. I do think that they're pretty smooth. Like, my hair does kind of tend to get a little bit frizzy. You can kind of see it up here, but that's the part that the curling iron didn't get to because I curled the ends of it more. But I feel like the parts that were actually curled do look pretty smooth. So I am pretty impressed with that. But we obviously have to see how it compares to something that I've been using my entire life, basically, my trusty curling wand. So let's break her out and do this side of my hair with the device that I would basically trust my life with. Let's do it. Here she is, the 7th grade curling iron herself. This one has physical buttons, as most curling irons do. I feel like it's pretty unique that the T3 doesn't have physical buttons. So I just turn it on by turning it on with the power button, and then it automatically goes to 370 and starts heating up, and it shows you on here, which I actually kind of like that it tells me the exact temperature it's at, whereas the T3 just had those bars. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm at a level 4, but I don't know what that actually means in terms of temperature. I tend to put it up to 390, which is pretty high, but that's what I do. So this is gonna be so much quicker because I'm so used to it. I'm not surprised. All right, now that I put it to the test, these are the results. This is the side that I did with the T3 Curl ID. That's the type of curl I got. And then this is the side that I did with my trusty dusty curling wand. Obviously, they look a little bit different, but obviously they both curled my hair. So let's get into all of our rating skills and really dig into whether it's worth it. First up, the did it work scale. Like I said, there are curls in my hair, so obviously something happened. But I think in terms of whether it worked or not, there's 2 different things to consider. First up, the most obvious, does it curl your hair? Yeah, there are curls. But I do think there are very different types of curls, as you can see. And I think that element is more to do with the clamp curling iron versus the wand curling iron, less to do with the tech behind the T3 Curl ID that we are obviously super into. And also a little bit of personal experience and personal preference. As I've said, I've grown up using the curling wand at one point. I switched over to the curling wand's lifestyle and I never looked back. And the clamp kind of gives you these straighter ends that stick out. I do think if I practiced with it a little bit more and if I really was a hair pro, I could get these ends to fold into the curl a little bit more. But even if you look at the 2 different sides, the ends look very different. And I feel like it almost makes my hair look a little bit more fried because of the clamp, but that's not to do with like the heating element itself. I think that's just a personal preference thing and the physical build of the curling iron. Like I said, the T3 brand does have curling wands as well. So if you're a wand person like myself, probably look into the wands specifically. The other element of it is the heat ID, the actual special part that makes this curling iron very different from all of the rest, whether it's clamp or wand. I want to like be able to physically feel a difference in hair health, but to be honest, it doesn't feel super different. I can't say it didn't work because I don't think my hair feels extra fried due to this curling iron, but I don't think it feels extra different at the same time. I think being able to input all of the different elements of hair health, like your hair texture, whether it's been colored or not, whether it's been chemically treated, I think that there's a lot of merit to that. But on a first use, I can't feel a super big difference. So I think on the did it work scale, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. I think it has a lot to go off of, and I think it could potentially really impact it if you have really, really susceptible hair to heat. But I think if you are using heat and it's not frying your hair, it's not gonna be super duper different, because as I'm feeling my hair right now, it doesn't feel crazy different. But I could see how it could be very, very different for people who have very fine hair or really color treated or really chemically treated hair, because I imagine it would bring that heat level down and force you to use a more healthy level of heat rather than just cranking your usual guy up to 390 degrees or more. Next up, let's talk about the simplicity scale. How easy is this thing to use? This scale, I think, is, again, very personal preference based. Like I said, I'm a curling wand kind of girl, so it was very easy for me to use my curling wand. The clamps just made it personally a little bit more difficult for me, but that's just something that either you have to practice with it, or if you're already like a clamp curling iron person, it won't sway you at all. The other thing was the actual buttons on this thing, because they're not physical buttons, they're just like light up. Like this is off right now and there's nothing here. It's just, it looks like an empty surface. I do feel like it's a little bit hard to know when it's on or off. I had a little bit of trouble literally turning it off, but the fail-safe to that is just unplugging it, like I said. So a little bit more complicated than I feel like a curling iron needs to be. It adds to the aesthetic of it all, but I don't know, I think I prefer physical buttons. So on the simplicity scale, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I think it can be simple for people who like aren't swayed by non-physical buttons or the clamp, but for me, it was a little difficult. So I'm gonna knock it 1 point, but still pretty good. All right, next up, the cost effectiveness scale. Like we said, the T3 Curl ID is $249. Now, I don't remember exactly how much this old guy costs, but generally curling irons these days can go $50. They can go below even. They can go somewhere between $50 and $100. It all depends on how much you want to spend for it, but you can definitely find budget curling irons. So the T3 is definitely on the higher end for a curling iron. So whether that's worth it or not, again, how much does hair health matter to you, and what kind of hair do you have? If you have really easy to manage hair and you've figured out the heat setting on your budget curling iron, I don't see a reason to buy this because you don't need it. But if you do feel like normal curling irons fry your hair and you have really hard to manage hair, if you color it a lot, if you chemically treat it a lot, I could see a case for this. So because I think it can really go either way depending on the type of person, on the cost effectiveness scale, I'm also gonna give it a 3 out of 5. And lastly, and you could say the most importantly, the coolness factor. How cool did this device make me feel while using it? To be honest, when you look at it, it's just a curling iron, you know? I think the sounds that it makes and the fact that there are different settings in it does kind of up that coolness factor a little bit. And it is very pretty, to be fair. I really do like the white and the rose gold. But while actually using it, it's the same experience of using a regular curling iron. I don't think that the tech wowed me once I got past putting in my personal preferences. So all in all, I think the coolness factor for this baby is also a 3 out of 5. For more tech, social good, entertainment, culture, and of course, beauty tech coverage, make sure you keep following along with us right here at Mashable.